Hello and welcome to another episode of the CEO podcast, which is Success Personified. This is brought to you by CEO Apparel in conjunction with Kuyasha Media. Unfortunately, this is the last episode of Success Personified, but I am very happy with the guest that we have today. We are speaking with Busi Mkhumbuzi Pooe. She is a global activist, and I say she's the person who was woke before wokeness was basically the status quo. She started off a number of initiatives which have opened up a lot of opportunities for her, and the latest of which is her hosting the former US President Barack Obama at the Nelson Mandela lecture, which took place earlier this year, like in July, and that's pretty great. Now she's also the co-founder of Timung, amongst other responsibilities such as being a mother as well as a wife. And I also say that she's the woman that you go to if you want something to get started and if you want something to be done. Hello, Busi.
Oh my gosh.
It was a lot. It was a lot because you really are a lot.
Thank you.
It's so great speaking with you. Now, like, you're a social activist to top a lot of social activists.
Yeah, okay.
Please take it.
I'm taking
because
it.
I feel like you, with this short span of life that you've had, like you've done so much. You've really done so much. But I want to take it back from the beginning. You are the daughter of 1976 activists.
Yes.
Do you think that they influenced and attributed to you being a global
They
activist?
certainly did.
Yeah.
Because I was going to always put it back to that situation, that stage of my life, being born in Soweto, being born to two 1976 activists. They were like 15 and 16 at the time as well.
Yeah.
They were like really young when they started doing all the work that they were doing. And at the time, I don't think they saw it as work. It was resisting the apartheid regime. It was being part of something bigger than them that was pulling from all ends. And they found themselves, being part of it and allowing themselves to use their bodies and to put themselves on the line. And I've grown up hearing the stories, every single time it was the 15th of June, I think it always rains on the 16th and the 15th.
Why would you know that? Okay.
Because it's always such a special thing at home.
Okay.
Because on the 15th, Dad will come home and he's just really emotional. And he goes on about, telling us the story from different angles about how they left their schools. He was at a school in Snawani called Skanundwani, and how they marched all the way to Orlando to join the main march. What happened when there was the breaking off of the police shooting. My mom tells me about her side of the story, being in Deep Kloof at the time and running into a toilet, a small little toilet to hide from the police, and a tear gas being thrown in. So I grew up hearing these stories, and I grew up with a very big passion for justice and that sort of thing, because of just how they were telling it, the singing, my aunts, and all the theatre they were doing at the time as well, the reading that I would have been exposed to. So it definitely was a thing of context and being brought up in an environment that made it conducive for me to be passionate about certain things. So I think it really is a thing I wholly 100% attribute to my parents.
Now, what about Eve Ensler and the role that she played in you being here? Because I know that when you were 16, I think you also had an opportunity to audition for her. And if people don't know Eve Ensler is a famous American playwright. She's also a famous feminist as well.
Yeah, she's actually got a documentary right now on Netflix called City of Joy. So people should check that out. It's a really cool docu about how they went to the Congo and they teamed up with a group of women who have been raped and mutilated in the war that's been going on in Congo as weapons of war. And these women have come together and they've built their own city called City of Joy that's been funded, supported by women like Eve Ensler, and that's really grown and become a home for them. So check that out on Netflix. But, when I was starting out, as an activist, and I wouldn't call myself an activist at the time. I had no clue that it's called activism. Like I say, I was just passionate about being active. I was passionate about the youth. I was passionate about acting, singing, dancing, just being alive, and being at the center of things. Exactly. And one of the things I really fell in love with was acting. We used to put up plays in church. We were so popular. We used to put up all kinds of productions. And once I found myself at Rand Girls High School in Parktown on a scholarship, and I was like, I'm gonna do my everything to prove that I'm meant to be at this school. And I was doing everything. I was doing like drama, I was doing sports, I was doing this and that. But I was particularly in love with the theatre aspect of it. And I wrote a play in 2010 called Strike, which was exploring, protest culture in South Africa from the perspective of a young girl during the World Cup. Was really, really cheesy, but like great ensemble. Put up the play at like a student play festival, did really, really well. And a lady spotted me while I was acting called Gina Schmuckler, and she called me and she's like, do you want to come audition for this play? It's called I'm an Emotional Creature by Eve Ensler. It's the best thing ever. It pays well. And I was like, what? And then I literally got stuck in it pays well. And I was like, I'm doing it. I auditioned and I got all the way up to the final audition where I was auditioning in front of Eve herself and the director, Bo. And she stopped me during my audition, my monologue recital, and she was like, tell me about your parents. Tell her, and she stopped me and she's like, tell me about this. And at some point she was like, Busi, I don't think you're an actor. I think you're going to change the world. And I was like, what? Yeah. And I left and I was a bit heartbroken and I told my dad, I'm like, I don't think I got the role. And she calls me and she's like, you didn't get the role. And I'm like heartbroken because that was the thing for me, right? But literally 2 weeks later, she takes me under her wing. I'm like her mentee. I'm driving all around Gauteng with her. I'm going on shows with her. I'm on 3 Talk with Nolene. I'm on radio with her. I'm literally being prepared for this global activism thing that I wasn't even aware of at the time. And it all started because I was on a stage and I was spotted by someone acting, and she plugged me in, and Eve saw that and was like hugely inspired by the potential of girls in South Africa. So she changed my life.
But what do you think she saw in you? What was it in you that was like, this girl?
I want to be humble.
Nah, come on.
I'm trying to be
this is not
so
the space.
today.
I'm allowing her to not be humble.
I think just tenacity. Just the tenacity to go in front of her and just want to tell her about my life. I think a lot of girls at the time were very like focused on the actings, like, so they would go for the audition, feeling a little bit separated from the monologues themselves. I think I really internalized the book, I'm an Emotional Creature, and I internalized the monologue I was doing in particular, My Short Skirt, which was about basically saying my short skirt is my defiance in a time when women are being raped, and at a time when women were abused at North Taxi Rank for wearing short skirts.
Yeah.
So I was internalizing all of that, and I think even in my output, the way I was acting it out, I was adding my own stuff, my own je ne sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi.
And just the stuff I was telling her as well was just giving so much content to, if you're writing something and you're based in New York and you're writing this book about girls all around the world, it's a fiction thing where you're just sort of drawing into what you think girls do experience. And when you meet a girl who's actually tapping into it and giving it content and making it feel like it's real and it's alive for someone, I think that's what really made her feel like, okay, stop. Who are you? How do I pull you in to start something that's going to be sustainable? I don't just want to put up a play. I want girls to literally go insane with it and to change their lives and to change their communities. And I think you're going to be the person to lead that. So, I don't know, yeah.
Okay, now
tenacity.
Yeah, okay.
Capital
Now,
T.
she also made you the head, or you rather headed the South African chapter of V-Girls.
Yeah.
And one of the first, or I don't know if it was one of the first, but one of the bigger initiatives that you had when you were underneath that initiative or that group is the whole march to North Taxi Rank.
Yes.
Now, how does the 16-year-old have like those emotions and those thoughts, and how do you even put something like that together?
We were actually quite a big group, the V-Girls chapter. So you interviewed Entle Khumalo earlier in the series. She was actually one of the organizing committee members, Bali Khumalo, a very big group of us. And we organized this protest, and this protest was going to be a response to the violence that 2 women had experienced earlier on in the year at North Taxi Rank wearing short skirts. So the whole idea is we're going to make short skirts out of recycled material. And I think this is something that girls as young as 8 can resonate with. That people start looking at you, start telling you how to sit from a very early age.
Yes.
You just don't tap into those feelings because no one really starts the conversation.
Yeah.
But when the conversations were started, we just start reflecting on it, and everyone has a story to tell.
100.
And for us, it really became a thing that we became super passionate about. We organized it.
At 16.
We had girls from everywhere. Alex, Deep Sloot, Soweto, CBD, coming through wearing these skirts made out of like plastic and newspaper and old cloth. And we literally went all across the CBD. We had celebrities there like Rosie Mudene, people like Vangile Gancho doing poetry. And it became big. It became so big, in fact, that I was invited to come and speak about it at TED Women.
Yeah.
And I was also invited to come to the V-Girls gathering in New York, where we had girls from all over the world, Israel, Mexico, the US, Kenya. And the whole idea was, what sparked this movement in South Africa? How do we spark movements like that all across the world without involving older women?
Yeah.
How do we make this something that girls own?
Yeah. And it becomes a girl thing.
It became a girl thing. Initially, the song that we were singing was "It's a Girl Thing."
Okay.
That became our thing. Yeah.
Now, how do you guys organize that? Like, you're 16. What resources do you have? Who do you call? Like, aren't you scared? Like,
I think we were very lucky, to be honest, Zinande. I think we were very lucky, and I have to say this because, like, I'm very passionate about talking about privilege and how privilege enables us to do certain things and how it blocks other people from doing certain things. At the time, we were very privileged in the sense that Eve and the entire network of women in V-Day, including women like Kerry Washington, women like Jane Fonda, were funding all our activities, were helping us to think through what we were doing, were helping us to signal the work that we were doing, the posters, the media attention, even invitations to TED Women, weren't things that we were going to achieve if we were just doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
But we still had to be very, very passionate and bold about what we were trying to do. And I always say to people that when a small group of focused, committed people come together, you're unshakable. Yeah. Opportunities start to open around you. I mean, I know we're stuck in a time right now, and I always talk about this on Facebook, where people are like, but there's no opportunities, but there's nothing, but there's no opportunities. And I think we're stuck in that mindset as well because of the socioeconomic times we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
People's pockets have been hit hard. No one's really funding stuff to happen. NGOs are really feeling like people are closing doors on their movements and not being supported the way that they should be.
Yeah.
So everyone just feels like there isn't as much opportunity. And although we had a lot of opportunity when we started as V-Girls, a lot of funding and that sort of thing, I still believe that it was because we were a passionate group.
Yeah.
There was funding for many other V-Girls groups all around the world, and they couldn't do what we did. They disappeared into thin air. And that's what happens even today to groups that get funding. The question is, are you determined to achieve what you're going to achieve? Do you have a plan? Do you have a group that is mobilized around it? Most importantly, are you extending the idea beyond you? Because if the idea is just something you want to hold on to and sort of hold into yourself because it's my idea, there's no sustainability in that, no one to support it, no one to really execute. So there was opportunity, but it was us. And that's the important thing for people to recognize and to know, that without the money or with the money doesn't change the outcome of what a powerful group can achieve.
True.
Fees must fall, roads must fall, all of that prove exactly what I'm saying. With very little support, push the doors down, and things have changed.
So what do you do now for all your endeavors and all the initiatives that you're trying to push in terms of organizing them?
I think I've transitioned. So like I said to you, I started off as someone who was just really passionate as a young person. Then I was doing a lot of theater, and then someone called me an activist when I was 16 and a feminist. And I had to check what the word means at the time. And I went into varsity, and I was doing a lot of roads must fall, fees must fall, patriarchy must fall. But when I left that space, still very passionate about all of those issues. But for me, it's been a journey of rediscovering what activism should do. I think for a long time, I was in a space where for me, activism was kicking down the door.
Yeah.
And I still think a lot of it is doing that. But for me now, it's also sitting at the table and negotiating, because I think we kick a lot of doors down, but we don't constructively rebuild from that place on. We don't constructively figure out how do we move forward and how do we get solutions that are going to change our lives for the better. When we got the opportunity to sit down with government and say, how do we change institutions of higher learning? did we have a response? Did we have a plan?
Yeah.
If we're invited right now by the Department of Higher Education to say, what does a decolonized curriculum look like? Do we know? Do we have answers? I don't think we do a lot of the constructive work. And for me, redefining activism has been, in fact, leading me to entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship, where I've now been saying, how do I take all of the problems that I have and not only highlight those problems, mobilize around those problems, get people involved and passionate about those problems, how do I also come up with the solutions for those problems?
Yeah.
And perhaps even change lives and my life through, thinking very hard about the solutions. And for me, it's really worked. It's really changed my life. And it's been a thing I've been channeling a lot of activists to think about. How do we take care of ourselves as well in the midst of all the problems that we're talking about and highlighting that bruise us all the time. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about your associations and the people that you associate yourself with. Because you spoke about V-Girls and how it was a team effort, and because of your guys' passion, it became what it was. And now thinking about, in terms of our activism, sitting down and looking at solutions, how do you and who do you surround yourself by? How do you choose the people that you surround yourself by to be able to,
I've always been very passionate about being surrounded by power people.
Okay.
I think one element of super competitiveness that we are conditioned to have, especially when we step into varsity and we are in some rat race, weird conventional race thing mentality, is that we start to shy away from people who are a bit more powerful than us,
True.
a bit more assertive, and we start to hang out with people that are predictable, that are going to always praise us.
Because we're intimidated.
Right? Because we've been conditioned about that there's scarcity, there isn't enough for all of us. Only some of us are going to be billionaires, only some of us are going to be millionaires, only some of us are going to make a global impact. Not all of us can go to one young world and make our voices heard. And because of all of that, we've sort of become very passionate about holding on to our stuff and keeping people at a distance. But what I've noticed in my life is that every time I've been really successful, I was propped up. And I take that very seriously. And it's the reason why in my work, all I do is prop people up.
Yeah.
I'm the head of programs at Simone, which means that all I do is create opportunities for young people. I sit in meetings with stakeholders and I say, give us funding so we can give these kids bursaries, so we can get them to think critically, so we can take them to Robben Island and get them to meet stalwarts and deepen democracy and constitutionalism for them. Give us money so we can take them to One Young World. Give us money so we can take them to a Masters tournament in the Czech Republic. That's all I do. That's all I'm passionate about. Because from V-Girls, Eve Ensler propping me up to being in a team of women at the time who was my age, but propping me up to moving and being in varsity where I was propped up by organizations like Lean In, to leaving that space. Even in Fees Must Fall and Roads Must Fall, we're propping each other up all the time. So I know nothing but that. And I think the most successful people will tell you the same thing. You've got to associate with people who are powerful, who can push you, who can advise you, more than you associate with people that need you. And when you can, you've got to be the same kind of person for someone else.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
Amazing.
I take it very seriously.
Amazing. Okay, then lastly, because running out of time, the boss people behind the camera wrap it up. You're young, you're black, you're a woman, but you've been given opportunities that shows that the people around you and the people who appoint you truly respect you. We wouldn't be hosting former US presidents and interacting with our people who are in current government, right now, and you wouldn't be sitting as the head of, programs for Tzumong if you weren't respected, if you couldn't sit with other people in tables and bring about these opportunities. How do you think that you've got to that point?
So Nandi, I can give you the humble answer and say it's because I work hard and blah blah blah, and people had faith in me and that sort of thing. I can give you the humble answer and say all of that stuff, or I can be real with you and say it's because I truly am powerful. I truly felt powerful on the stage with President Obama. I felt like I deserved to be on the stage. I felt like I belonged. A lot of people asked me if I felt shy, and I was wondering if I should lie and say I did. I didn't feel shy because I felt like I'm with peers in a sense. the reason why I want to tell you the honest answer
Yeah.
is because I think it's very important for so many of us to recognize that we are very powerful seeds. And when we see ourselves as very powerful in seed form, we start to really believe that we can be in certain spaces. If I continue to give the humble answer, I continue to condition young people to think they're really privileged to get opportunities, when the truth is they deserve them. And I think it's about time we acknowledge when we are powerful, and when we acknowledge when we've been blessed with certain gifts that deserve to be celebrated. And I think it's important that I'm able to say that to you. So I think in seed form, I truly belonged with the people on that stage in seed form. And I'm working on sprouting.
You don't even have
and being
to,
a flower and
like,
sort of thing.
her saying in seed form,
In
it's
seed
like,
form.
okay, I'm protected. This is me being humble in seed form. But like, nah, you deserve to be on that stage.
But it's really important. It's really important for me to say seed form as well, because there's so much work that still needs to be done and so much investment that still needs to be made. But in essence, was the seed the same seed that everyone else on that stage had in them? It was. This one just needs a little bit more watering to blossom into what everyone else on that stage was. And I think we need to change the way we see ourselves and start seeing ourselves that way. And suddenly a world of opportunities opens up, and it becomes a life well lived.
Okay, thank you so much, Busi.
It's a pleasure.
Oh, what a lovely way to end off a Success Personified, our CEO Apparel podcast as well as video. It's been great. I really, really enjoyed this and all the other interviews that I've had as well throughout the weeks. We just want to say that to continue supporting our young upcoming startup entrepreneurs, continue pushing the boundaries, continue trying out things. Like Busi said, it we all have seeds within us, and if you start taking yourself as average and regular and not speaking things into being and truly acting like a powerful being, then it just won't happen to you. Start seeing yourself as you truly and fully are. Otherwise, from me, Z, I'm outie. Remember to buy some CEO Apparel, man. Check out the link to the website in the description box below. Otherwise, maybe next episode, maybe not. We'll see. Are we doing another episode?
We're done.
We'll
It's a
see.
wrap.
Okay, sorry. It's all right. Sure.